This information needs to exist in the world. Had I found it earlier, I could have saved myself a ton of trouble. What do you do when you're renovating a 100-year-old house and it's got beautiful oak floors and you want to keep them? But then you want to do a bathroom which had no floor, maybe it was really water damaged, you had to tear it out, and you need to prep the subfloor for some kind of flooring product. Tile, LVP, which is what I'm going to try to do. But your beautiful oak floors are out of level, and you don't want a really awkward transition from your oak floors to your bathroom flooring product. The answer is, well, first, don't wind up in this situation. I don't know, find a way to tear up the subfloor, fix the joists, maybe add some kind of concrete pier, something to like lift things up. I don't know. It kind of depends on the extent of your skills, how much time and money you're willing to invest in fixing the problem. In my case, honestly, I was being cheap, and I kind of have this hodgepodge of 3/4 sanded plywood. Man, I wish I just spent the money on a couple new sheets. In addition to fixing some joists, I probably would not be in the situation, but I am. And so the answer is to use a flooring compound, but not self-leveler. That's kind of the issue here. There's tons of videos out there about using self-leveler. People mix up 5 buckets of it, they pour it out, and then they show you after it sets, the level, the bubble is like directly in the center. But the thing is, if your room is out of level altogether, or like in my case, my example was oak flooring, you're trying to kind of keep with the out of levelness of the original floor, like what do? You can't use self-leveler. It's not an option. So Home Depot has this stuff. It's a quick setting product. Oh, it's called Henry 549. I assume Lowe's and maybe other smaller hardware stores have something similar. You want to apply this stuff like less is more is your philosophy. It's definitely an iterative process. And honestly, before you even get to that, if you can identify any high spots, get yourself a grinder. This is a tool I should have bought a long time ago, and I recently got it because I repointed a brick stem wall. And you definitely need something to grind out the mortar. Honestly, I got this at Harbor Freight, 40 bucks. It's a 7-amp grinder. It held up. I don't think it's worth spending like $200 on a Makita or something like that. The grinder was 40. The diamond wheel was another 40, that's funny. And then this dust shroud, which actually isn't really very useful for repointing brickwork, but whatever. This dust shroud was another 20, so a $100 setup, and I just think sometimes it's worth getting the budget tool because, I don't know, maybe you're a pro, maybe you're a weekend warrior, whatever. Sometimes it's better to just buy the tool and spend all your time researching which tool is best, and I often find myself in that situation. So anyway, if you can find obvious high spots, like however you put your level, it's clear that one spot is high, knock it down a little bit. That'll go a long way. Now, how you do that, I'm gonna go ahead and awkwardly adjust the camera, bring it down a little bit. I think this is correct. Let's see. Actually, nah, I think I need to back up there. This is a one and done situation. We're not doing multiple takes, but there we go. Okay. So in my case, I have a 5 by about 6.5 foot space. Kind of convenient. I have a 4 foot level and a 6-foot level, so you know, the 6 foot covers me long ways, and the 4 foot just about covers me width-wise. And in addition, Dan, you're there. Okay. In addition, these are from a separate project, but they're super useful. These are little plastic shims that are measured in, well, this one's 1/32. This one is 1/16. I've also got a 1/8, but not entirely relevant. What you want to do is take the appropriate level and check one way to see where your spacer will fit under the level. And you know, that's if you have a low spot. If you have a high spot, like I have here, you can hear it. That's a, you know, similar situation, similar but different. You can take your spacer, maybe get your level so that it shows the where the issue is, and put your spacers in underneath your level to get a good sense of what's going on. And the method that I think is best is to check all of your spots in one direction and then in another direction, and honestly trace them out, which is what I've done. I know it doesn't show up on camera, but I'm gonna go ahead and leave this part to your imagination. Tracing them both directions, draw some shapes connecting the dots, and then find the overlap. And that seems to be the best way to find where you want to put your flooring compound. And then when you let it set and you check again, I think that you'll be surprised how much closer you get to acceptance for the product you're using. Perfectly flat is out of the question. And honestly, if you're doing this for a room bigger than a bathroom, reconsider. Just do something else. Do hardwood flooring, which is what I did in my kitchen. I had my oak floor I was talking about earlier extended into my kitchen. Could have saved myself a ton of money and heartache if I just did that. That flooring seems a lot more resilient. I mean, I had flooring guys do it, and they put it in and they sanded it down, and I installed all my cabinets. And I can't tell if it's uneven at all underfoot, and I think that's what most of us are going for. Like, looks nice, you can't tell there's actually an issue. That's what we want. We want beauty and functionality. Anyway, so you do this, and then you trace your overlap. I was using pencil and Milwaukee brand Sharpie, and once you do that, you mix up your compound, you put it down, and what I'm hoping this is my last round of this, because I've done quite a few. You can see there's quite a bit of gray, which is the compound. I'm hoping that this gets me within acceptance for the flooring I'm using. That was what I was trying to say, acceptance. In my case, it is 3/32 over a 4-foot span. So these two put together, my 1/16 and my 1/32, I am like so close. I am so close to acceptance. If I move the level just a little bit, you can see I'm scraping up against the level. And now, yeah, can't even touch it. So I'm getting very close, and I know this is long-winded and, know what fancy editing, but whatever, I don't have time for that. I'm gonna mix this stuff up and put it down and show you how to do it. I said it before, I'll say it again. With anything like this, I think less is more, because if you put down too much, then you're just going to be doing a lot more work with the angle grinder, which isn't the worst thing, but all the particulate dust, you know, you can wear a respirator, you can put plastic on your door. It's just more work you don't want to do. So the mix here is, it's like however many quarts per, I think it's, you know, what does it say on here? 1 3/4 quarts per 7 pounds. So, how do you work in small batches? You get a fairly finely granulated measuring cup. In this case, I have 4 ounces ready to go. I guess I could go down to 50 mils, but 4 ounces is like enough that I can work with it. And if I have extra, you know, I don't know, throw it out. You're gonna have some waste. Any construction project you do, you're gonna have some waste. But definitely put your water in your bucket first. And then a pretty cool tool is the luggage scale. This thing has helped me measure out a lot of thin set, stuff like that. But clip it on there, the bucket in the water comes to 0.4. I've done this too many times. I know it comes to 0.4. Take out our compound here. Okay. And this part, you know, you just gotta take it easy. Don't do too much at once. Check it as you go. 0.8, we're getting there. Wasn't enough. Okay. Still 0.8. Let me tear it. Zero it out. Still 0.8. 0.9. You zero it out for good measure. 0.8 again. Okay, I'm gonna mix it up. And if it seems a little loose, I'm gonna add more. That's unfair because I've done this too many times. I know what a little loose looks like. And what a little loose means is that it's a little bit more sloppy when you're applying it. But mixing bit, I think this is probably meant for drywall. Totally fine for this kind of product. I believe is it 3/8? I don't know. It works on both my DeWalt and my Ryobi drills, so I think that's probably covers the gamut. Okay. Pro tip, grip this thing with your feet. It's pretty huge because it's gonna spin out of control if you don't. Go to the next. Yeah, it's a little loose. The luggage scale method is good. It gets you close, but then sometimes you gotta add a little more. You don't want it too runny. It's like a loose peanut butter, whatever. That's looking pretty good. Okay, now, another thing, whenever you're doing this, you spent, you know, 10, 15 bucks, whatever, on your mixing bit, have a bucket of water ready to go and clean it up. Because if you don't do that, the stuff will set on there and it's a pain in the butt to get it off. You can use a chisel, you can sand it, that all sucks though. So, now, we've got our bucket of compounds, looking pretty good. This is just a 3-inch, I think it's a drywall knife. I don't really know. I've been using it for a while for like most goop related projects. But this is the real MVP. It's a 16-inch trowel. I think I got this one at Lowe's. I don't think they had it at Home Depot. It's getting a little rusty. I should clean it up. In any case, great tool to have. You know, each one of these things, I feel like everything is 15 to 20 bucks. And before you know it, you spend hundreds of dollars, but you got to do your project. So it is what it is. And now what I'm going to do is apply my compound to my overlap. Again, that was like making marks that way, and then finding the overlap. Because you'll drive yourself crazy trying to figure it out otherwise. Going diagonal, and then all of a sudden you got marks this way and that. So anyway, do lengthwise and horizontal, and then get your overlap, and that is the ticket. I'm gonna fill in my space roughly with my little guy. You go outside a little bit, that's fine, because, well, for one, you might cover a little bit of area in one direction of your overlap. And I think ultimately that helps you. But fill in the space. Okay, there we go. And get good with your trowels. Use your big trowel to help you clean up your small trowel. Throw it in the bucket, just like that. Because otherwise, you're going to be covered in mud like I am covered in paint. Different project. But it's already, you know, I'm going to expand that some. I want to make sure. Okay. Alright. And then, this part, don't go too crazy. You might leave a little lines in it. Might kind of wind up being like a little line to high spot. Once the stuff starts to set, you can take your little guy and knock it down, not a problem. Again, this is an iterative process. You're going to do this a couple times. I'll say more on that later, but what I'm going to do, seems like this is about the width of my trowel. So I'm going to go on the left and on the right, or other way around, and we'll see what I get. And because I know this is a low spot, I'm going to put a little pressure on this side as I go, so I don't take off too much. Okay, look at that, look how much is on there. You gotta always be cleaning when you do this stuff into the bucket. It's actually important to clean between passes. Oh, we got something dried on there. It's important to clean between passes to reduce the amount of fine little gouges you get in there. And there's like a little bit of hard something stuck on there. That'll happen. Here's another one. This time I put a little bit more pressure on that side, and yeah, I got a little line there from the edge. That's just, it is what it is. Okay. And the only thing I don't like about this is that there's a little bit too much there. I must have let off a little bit, so I'm gonna come down once, putting pressure on this side because that's my high spot. Okay. Yeah. Looks pretty good. Okay. And there you go. You let that set up. This is a quick setting product. Oh, yeah. Okay, press the wrong button. What I was saying there was that this is a quick setting product, which I would recommend. So you can do a batch, clean up, you know, spray out your bucket with your hose, whatever, and do another batch, probably do one every half hour or whatever, and you might be able to get this done in like a day, maybe 2 days. It's a pain in the butt. But when you're in this situation, it's like, what else do? You want to install floor, you don't want it to fail. There's going to be a toilet on it, there's going to be a vanity on it. You want it to be solid, you know, at least for like 5 or 10 years before something else happens. I don't know, there's a seismic shift and your house crumbles a little bit and you got to figure something else out. I don't know. You let this set up, you knock down your high spots, check with your level, probably in between coats, maybe not every coat, but use a sander, 60 grit, smooth out the edges a little bit. If you're really trying to dial it in, depending on how you're putting your level and which direction in your room, you'd be surprised that the edge of where you put your compound down, like if it's a bit of a rough edge, you know, you weren't really that skilled with the big trowel, taking it down a little bit, just kind of smoothing it, goes a long way, and you really can't remove too much of this stuff with a sander, but 60 grit, that does the job, and it seems like 60 grit is also pretty readily available. You can get 40 grit, I don't really recommend it, I tried it, no real benefit, and you know, anyway, so that's another idea. But I have a little bit left in my bucket, and I actually have another spot that my tripod is sitting on, so I got to turn this off and use up what I have left, or most of it, so I'm not wasting too much. And yeah, really, this is huge. And if there's one point that I can drive home, if you're trying to like work in a kitchen, you know, 10 by 10, 10 by 15, don't do this. Don't install tile. You know, blast me if you want, but I really think that in that situation, you need to reevaluate your flooring material or what's happening structurally, regardless of you know, how much like time and money that adds to your project, because there's nothing worse than like going through all this process and then, I don't know, having a bad tile install. And unfortunately, I did have that case. So, you know, then it's a trip to the tool rental store that you have available, and one of those big jackhammers with the paddle bit, and you're taking it all up, you know, hundreds of dollars of who knows what you did, cement board, flooring compound. Don't do that. Yeah, so I don't know. This video is for me as much as I hope it's for anybody else. So, you know, get in your bathroom, do your goop. Hopefully it turns out good.